Well, the legislature is in full force in Austin. A lot of activity going down there. A lot of people going back and forth. I mentioned I've been in there a couple of times, and it dawned on me. I have mentioned on a couple of occasions that this council all supports the Governor Abbott's 2.5% property tax cap initiative that he's put in place. And I had also said that before we took that position, we took a look at all of our numbers for several years of actual budget numbers and modeled that computation to ensure that it would not affect Colleyville negatively from a financial standpoint, and it did not in any of those years. However, it dawned on me that I have never talked about how that 2.5% cap works. And you really need to understand this, you really need to know it's important. Otherwise, you could come to raw conclusions about it. So let me just tell you real quickly. 2.5% tax cap is computed based on, is not computed based on the total tax rate. It's only computed based on part of the tax rate, which is referred to as M&O, maintenance and operations. The other part of the tax rate is called INS, that's interest and sinking fund, and that revenue is raised to pay off city debt. So any bonds that the city has, that revenue pays. There's no cap on that part of the tax rate. It also does not include tax revenue generated from any new growth. Those are important factors if you're thinking about the impact of this thing. The other thing that's very critical, and this is a little more subtle, when we do the budget process at the beginning of our fiscal year, which we're beginning to start right now, you do budget estimates, and based on those budget estimates, you compute a tax rate that gets you the revenue needed to pay for those expenses. So that's how it works. That's at the beginning of the year, and so tax rate is based on the predicted revenue needed, tax revenue needed. I say all that because when you compare, and if you want to look at the numbers, and last time I told you we approved the audit, and so I said, hey, we got all the financial information on the website, take a look at it, they're all there. But if you use those numbers to try to see the impact of the 2.5% tax cap on Colleyville, you have to exclude INS, you have to exclude new property, and you have to use the budgeted revenue. What's in the capper is end of year actual revenue, and if you compute year-to-year percentages on those numbers, you will get numbers greater than 2.5, and you will for a couple of reasons. One, the INS is in there, new property growth is in there, and another very important one is if you look at INS, it's kind of interesting. The percentage increase of actual revenue at the end of the year for the INS part of the budget increases from 12 to 19% a year for the last 3 years. The reason for that is the state imposes conditions on how you compute the revenue at budget time, because you cannot use the capped it's over $65 and those things. So that's real revenue. So at the end of the year, you collect taxes on that. You just can't build it into your budget. And so actually it's a good thing. End of year actual total revenue is always greater, for the last 3 years anyway, always been greater than the budgeted revenue. It has no effect on the tax rate. That's already been computed at the beginning of the year. So it's a very positive thing. And why is that positive? Because that money, we've had a surplus every year. We move that money at the end of the year into our capital project fund, and in reality, that's part of the money that we're able to do all of our capital projects with cash. We haven't borrowed any money, don't anticipate borrowing money. So it's so the financial strategy that's being employed has worked out very well for the last 3 years, and it's very positive. And if you looked at other years where you just compare total revenue at the end of the year to budgeted revenue, I just said, hey, there's going to be a surplus every year for the last 3. That's not always been true. Sometimes there were deficits. So, but I always say Colleyville is very blessed. We're all very blessed to be here, and so the financials look fantastic. Now, some of what I said was a little detailed. I'd be happy and would love to sit down and talk to anybody that's interested in that and would like to understand it and go through those numbers. Be happy to do that anytime. So just wanted to make that offer. And with that,